What's going on, Broncos country? Welcome on into a live edition of the Broncos Breakdown by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Matthew Peterson. On today's episode, we're going to run through some of the news out there. We've got some coaching moves being made. We're going to break it all down for you. Plus, Bo Nix got surgery? I feel like that's worth discussing, do you not? So, before we get any further, though, I do love to let the audience build up in the first 5 to 10 minutes or so before we get into the meat and potatoes. Shout out your city for me in the chat. Let me know where you are watching from. It's always fun to see how much of a country Broncos country truly is. So don't be a stranger. Get in the chat right now. Let me know where you are watching from before we jump into our 3 segments for today's live show. So you guys have an opportunity to see how the sausage is made. Ty Man the Buckeye, always good to see my right-hand man in the chat. Aiden is watching from Fort Collins, Colorado. Jimbo is tuning in from Pratt, Kansas. Tristan, it's been a while, has it not? Watching from Iowa. We've got Italy in the house. My fiance and her family are going on a trip to Italy in like 2 weeks. And they're very upset that I'm not able to join. It's just too busy during the offseason here, which might sound strange, but the combine, the draft, free agency, all that stuff, I just can't take 2 weeks off in February. But it does mean I get undisputed TV time. I've been crushing my World War II in color because she's had some work thing. Last night I watched 3 episodes of Masters of the Air. Just get to watch my shows. Penguin.
You're a big Air Disasters fan.
I like Air Disasters.
So
it's been a little while. Now my algorithm is filled with like audio from the cockpit of like pilots and air traffic control.
The black boxes?
No, not just like them arguing sometimes, like kind of like bloopers. So yeah. Anyway, we went down a long tangent after I saw Italy in the chat. Okay, before we get any further though, big special shout out to our friends over at Game Time. Game Time has an awesome feature that you need to know about called Game Time Picks. What that does is it makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. One thing I love about Game Time is their all-in pricing option. When you select this option, it'll show you the total upfront cost, like out the door, before you spend 20 to 30 minutes clicking through everything. That way you know what you're getting from the jump. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Also, big special shout out to our friends over at Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action with over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings. Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players. Prize Picks puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. Plus, they do things like this. Patrick Mahomes, like him or hate him, I think we can all agree, he's going to get more than half a passing yard against the Eagles. So, go to Prize Picks, take the more on that. They're just giving it to you, and then pair it with one more bad boy, and you are out the door. So download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. All of that information is in the comments and description of today's video. Download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game. Speaking of the big game, who you got? Eagles or Chiefs? Producer Reed is from the Philadelphia area. He's an Eagles fan. I don't want to crush his spirit. I don't want the Chiefs to win. But I'm having a tough time envisioning. And that's usually what I make my Super Bowl prediction on is which color confetti can I actually see raining down? And I don't know if I can see this version of green. What's it called? Like a midnight green? Midnight green? Yeah. With Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes on the other sideline. However, no one thought Nick Foles, Tom Brady, Case Keenum, and Blake Bortles, that foursome in the championship round, would emerge with Foles hoisting the Lombardi. So why not us, I guess? I'm going to go with the Chiefs. I hate it. I'm not going to bet the Chiefs, though. I'm going to bet the Eagles because I don't want to be right on this one. I'd rather lose money and be wrong than bet on the Chiefs and have a moment in the fourth quarter where it's tied, it's 3rd and 5, and I'm excited that Mahomes got the first down. I don't want that moment. Even though I think it's probably going to happen, I'm still going to bet the Eagles.
Let me ask you this question.
Yeah.
Which team is better, Commanders or Chiefs?
Chiefs.
Okay.
Hot take,
I'm just thinking about they scored 55 points in an NFC Championship game.
I know.
And the Chiefs barely squeaked by the Bills.
I get that. Don't downgrade the Bills. I understand. No,
not at all.
I do agree that if you did not know about the history in the previous run that the Chiefs have gone on, a European who's like just getting into the NFL would pick the Eagles. But I can't ignore the fact that they've got voodoo magic. And it's not even actually like magic. They create their own luck. Like they put themselves in positions to be successful. They make the plays when they have to. It's not just luck.
I think there's some people in the chat saying they got the refs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
They never call holding on the Chiefs. That is true. We got a super chat flying in from Mr. Markowski. What's going on, Matt? Thank you very much for supporting the channel. I've got myself up my own phone right now. It's like watching me while I'm recording this. Markowski with a $1 super chat. Thank you so much, Matt. Really appreciate it. Like I said, hope you're having a great day. Thank you for tuning in. We also got no, I think it's from a different show. Different show. Connor, I don't know what this is. We're crossing streams here. That's from a different show. Project Corgi, I'm picking the Eagles by 14. If the Eagles win, I feel like they're going to kick the Chiefs' ass. I feel like it would be like Bucks Chiefs all over again, where if the Eagles come out on top, it's 31-17 going into the fourth quarter, and everyone's kind of like, it's going to come, it's going to happen, and then 3 minutes into the fourth, Darius Slay picks 6. And you really start to realize, nope, it's just not the Chiefs' day. Yeah. When the Chiefs lost, they have 3 postseason losses. One of those losses because of the Buccaneers pass rush and their defense. Let's start the show, though. Let's get into our subjects for today. We've got some news I want to cover, and then I want to talk about the Senior Bowl and a little bit of draft, and then a mailbag, so an opportunity for you guys to get on screen if you have any questions whatsoever. So latest news and rumors, mostly on the news side, though. Senior Bowl notes, though, from day one over in Mobile, Alabama, and then a mailbag, so hashtag Broncos or Super Chat to be featured on today's live show. Dion Sharp is in the chat. Dion, I always enjoy seeing your comments in the comment section, so thank you for tuning in. I've got David here, Shane and Don also in the chat, Jimbo, Byron Lewis. Appreciate it, everyone. We've got some Chargers all over the place. All right. I know. Ew, Chargers indeed. Did you guys know, by the way, I went to my wedding tasting, not to make this like the Matthew Peterson show, like 2 weeks ago, though. And yes, I didn't know that Charger is also a plate. Are you familiar with this? The big plate that sits on the table that your actual plate lays on. That's called a Charger. And we were driving to the tasting, and my future mother-in-law said she bought a Charger. And I was like, cool. I brought my own Charger. Like, I didn't understand that. And then they're like, no, Mom, we're buying the Chargers. And I'm like, you guys are purchasing the Los Angeles Chargers? And they're like, no. And they like pulled it out of the bag. And I was like, no. I've never heard a plate be called a Charger before.
You have a Dodge Charger?
Yeah, I was very confused the whole time. I was sitting there, kind of just keep my mouth shut, thinking like, that's a lot of phone chargers. Or I don't think they bought the Chargers. Otherwise, I'm learning about a whole new pot of wealth from this family that I had never, seen before. All right. So hashtag Broncos or Super Chat if you want to be on our live show. for our mailbag, which will be in about 30 or so minutes. Don't be a stranger. Get in the chat and toss your question in. I'd love to get it on screen for all of our viewers to see. Now, let's get into our first segment for today. We're going to recap some of the news out there. It's not boring news. The Bo Nix part is not concerning, but intriguing, noteworthy in my opinion. Definitely something to have a brief conversation over. And then we got some coaching stuff going on. So just a lot of like crumbs and nuggets that add up to a nice cookie. Frank, Philadelphia, all the beat that, but I don't know what that is. Eagles run game can dominate. I agree that the Chiefs, and they will come prepared, or they'll at least make a game plan, but that's going to be the Eagles' path to winning this Super Bowl. If you look at some of the Eagles' postseason wins as of late, it's not because Jalen Hurts is playing his tail off. He did play very well in the Super Bowl 2 years ago, though, against Kansas City. But I don't think Jalen Hurts is the key to victory for Philadelphia. I think it's Saquon Barkley gets 180 yards and 2 touchdowns, and this Eagles front four just feasts on a very good Kansas City offensive line. 81 people tuned in at the moment. We have 24 likes. If you have not liked the video yet, please go ahead and do so. It does help support the channel more than you might realize. Gary is tuning in from Colorado. David with a $5 super chat. Let's throw David's super chat on screen really quickly, and then we're going to jump into our first segment. I've kept you guys held up long enough. The police is in the chat. Love the show, Matt. Want to know what you think. Not DJ. What do you think of? I'm going to see you're trying to ask here. DJ Giddenson's the running back from K-State. Don't have a lot on this fellow right here, so a name that I've got to become more familiar with, but I expect the Broncos to do homework on every single running back in this class, and the good news is this is a good running back draft class. It's not going to be a drastic drop-off from the guys you find in round 2 to the guys you find in round 3 compared to previous years. Last year, you only had one running back go in the first 2 rounds of the draft. It was that bad of a running back class. And I feel bad for the Texas running back, which Jonathan Brooks. He tore his ACL immediately when he started playing again. And now you really wonder what his future is like. David, thank you again for the super chat. Greatly appreciate your support of the channel. Now, let's get into our first segment for today's live edition of the Broncos Breakdown here at Chat Sports. Welcome on into the Broncos Breakdown by Chat Sports. I want to talk about a couple of news items out there, starting with this. Bo Nix, alternate for the AFC Pro Bowl at quarterback, was unable to accept his invitation to participate, with a couple other guys declining because of a previously scheduled routine and minor postseason cleanup procedure. That right there always makes me chuckle a little bit, how as a society we downplay surgery when you just include the key word, cleanup. If anyone I know is going to get surgery, I'm always a little bit worried. But when football players, athletes always get surgery, and you mention the word cleanup, oh, it's no biggie whatsoever. It's just a cleanup, right? We're just doing a quick check-in, basically. That always, to me, is just a little funny that we completely blow past surgery as long as the word cleanup is somewhere in the sentence. I'm not concerned about this. If the team's not concerned, then why should I be concerned? I don't have any more reason to believe that I have more knowledge on this surgery than anyone else. So, yeah, no concern on my end. But still, I would not be doing my job if I didn't say, yeah, the Denver Broncos starting quarterback got surgery this offseason. No idea what the surgery is on specifically. He got his back injured, so hopefully it's not back surgery. I don't remember a knee injury popping up. Usually, like, the cleanup surgeries are in the knee, hopefully not his shoulder, but it's something to keep an eye on. Just file this away for when OTAs and minicamp get here. If Nix is, like, not able to participate, not a full participant, then in April, May, June, I'll be a little bit more concerned. But he's got time on his hands right now and plenty of time to sit back, rehab, and recover, and return to the way he left things in 2024, 66% completion percentage, 3,700 yards, 29 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions. So unfortunately for Nix, he does not get to go to the Pro Bowl, which it's an absolute joke. And every year I get mad at myself. I almost said this is like the worst Pro Bowl selection of quarterbacks. After Joe Burrow, you've got Russell Wilson, who played 2/3 of the season and sucked the last 5 games, and Drake May, who played 2/3 of the season and had some good games for a rookie, but yeah, nothing screams like best of your class, 15 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. The NFL and the NBA and all these leagues are wondering, how do we fix the Pro Bowl? And they're so focused on fixing the game itself, they never actually think, maybe we should fix the personnel, players going. Maybe we should make it something where it's not an absolute joke and Tyler Huntley is going there to play dodgeball. I was about to say this is the worst Pro Bowl quarterback room, but Joe Burrow helps out a lot. But then I remembered, oh yeah, last year Gardner Minshew went, and Tyler Huntley went the year before that. So you can do worse, I guess. But nevertheless, let's show Bo Nix some support right now. Type 10 down below to give him your support on a quick, speedy recovery. Is it quick or speedy? If an English major can let me know. I always wrestle with this one here. You think it's speedy? I think it's speedy recovery. I think it's a quick recovery. I don't know. Also, make sure to subscribe for free daily Broncos content. We're going to get you guys everything you need to know about your favorite team right here. Moving on, some other news items I want to talk about. Former Broncos pass game coordinator John Morton signed his deal to become the Lions offensive coordinator. So, yet again, another Broncos coach coordinator leaving to be an NFC North offensive coordinator. We've got John Morton, former passing game coordinator, going to the Lions to be their offensive coordinator. Former Broncos tight ends coach Declan Doyle going to Chicago to be Ben Johnson's new offensive coordinator. And then longtime assistant GM through multiple front offices, Darren Muge, going to the Jets to be their GM. I know this might not look good to see a lot of players or a lot of coaches being poached away and taken to other teams. Overall, this is a positive sign. Would you rather be a team that has no good coaches that no one wants to hire and you probably aren't winning a lot of football games, but at least you're keeping your bad coaches? Or a team that wins 10 games and the NFL thinks so highly of what the coaches were able to do with that roster that they come in and just take the coaches? I know it sounds crazy. I'd rather be the latter because at least you're doing something right that other teams want to have a piece of it. It's like no press is bad press. I'd rather be in the conversation, be the man in the arena, than completely sit out. Sure, no one poaches your coaches, but you don't have any coaches worth poaching. Now, give me the big fish. So I think this is overall a positive, healthy sign that the Broncos under Sean Payton have the right pieces in place at the top because they are hiring the right people to delegate to that other teams want to come in and promote on their coaching staff. We've got some more news to get to, so do not go anywhere. But first things first, Game Time, our sponsor today, has an awesome deal for Broncos country. It's called Game Time Picks. What that means is you're going to get tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Let's say you want to go to an Avs game, all right? Hop on Game Time, and you're going to see that they've got zone deals, flash deals, all these incredible deals to help you save money. Now, one thing I really like about Game Time is their all-in pricing option. Toggling this feature shows the total upfront cost with no surprise fees at checkout. Plus, they offer the Game Time guarantee. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. This is a piece of news that I'm really excited to share with you guys. And you probably have already seen it, but if not, the Denver Broncos ownership group is gifting 15,000 plus brand new helmets to every high school in Colorado to help support youth football across the state and make it accessible for everyone to play football if they would like to and not have any costs get in the way for programs or for families. And I think this is an incredible, generous, and inspiring move for other owners to hopefully follow suit in, because the Colorado high school athletic director, he had some long title, I don't remember it. He said this is like a first in the entire country. So big shout out and big round of applause for the Walton Penner ownership group for being so generous with their money. This is $12+ million, by the way. And there's not like a return on your investment. They're not spending $12 million on a new locker room for players to come to, spend time in Denver and sign with the Broncos. Nope, they're just giving away $12 million for the betterment of their community. It's a community that they're new to, right? Walmart's not from Colorado, but they are doing everything they can to embrace themselves and just dive head first into their new Rocky Mountain region by spending $12+ million on brand new helmets for every single high schooler that wants to play football in Colorado. And so now we're seeing yet another piece of great just spending is the best way to put it, I guess, from the ownership group. Remember, quick trip down memory lane. Walton Penner ownership group expanded the Jumbotron. They increased it 30%, something like that. Stadium renovations, they did that going into this past season, really pimped out the suites and everything like that. They also brought in more local food into the stadium. Remember when they spent $500,000 on brand new grass for one game? A game that wasn't like important, right? It was the end of the first season. They had nothing to play for. It was after Nathaniel Hackett was fired. And I guess they were like, oh, grass isn't good. Let's spend $500,000 on new grass to be used once, by the way. Would not be used again to start the next season. But that's just how committed they are to making sure that the players and the coaching staff have everything at their fingertips to be successful. New practice facility is coming in the near future, new uniforms, and my guess is the next new will be a new stadium because they're already doing some homework on that as well. Broncos country, you have to be encouraged that you've got the right people and owners at the top to allow greatness and success to trickle down. Take the Washington Commanders, for example. They get rid of owner Dan Snyder. Year one without him, they're in the NFC Championship game. This stuff is contagious in the building. And if you got a rotten core at the top, you're not going to go very far. Every couple of years, you might be able to pop off for an unexpected good season because you had a couple of bounces go your way. You got some good talent to overcome horrible frustration or horrible front office play and ownership. But thankfully, this will never be an issue for the Broncos because their ownership group is going to ensure that the players and the coaches get everything they could possibly ask for to be successful. And that is a huge sigh of relief that the fans need to have and be reminded of every so often. One more thing that came out today, it's been a busy day. Broncos and inside linebackers coach Greg Manusky have parted ways. I was a little surprised by this. Hand up, I was not very knowledgeable on the Broncos inside linebackers coach Greg Manusky. I didn't see this coming, but for how well Cody Barton played after Alex Singleton went down, I didn't expect there to be a shakeup at the inside linebackers coach. So maybe there's a little bit more to the story. I'm not really sure. I don't think he was just fired because they didn't like the way the linebackers played this year. There's the news, and with that news, that means there's one more opening. Special teams coordinator after firing Ben Kotwika, tight ends coach to replace Declan Doyle, who's in Chicago as the OC, inside linebackers coach, passing game coordinator replaced Johnny Morton, who is in Detroit as their OC, and then a new assistant right-hand man for George Paton. All right, that will do it for us on today's episode. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give us a like. Always try to remember to like the video. It does help grow the channel more than you might realize. All right. CPJ is in the chat. Great to see you, CPJ. Jimbo, nice to have deep pockets. Indeed. I'll also remind you guys that the Broncos ownership group is richer than the second, third, and fourth richest NFL owners combined. It's kind of like when you close your eyes and you think about how big space is. It's tough to really visualize how immensely wealthy Walton Penner Group is. They have money that's above fuck you money. They have all the money. So even though $12 million is not nothing to them, I mean, they're at $75 billion. $12 million. You got a long ways to go to even just $1 billion, which would be 1/75th of their wealth.
I just think it's so funny. There's such a vast difference with owners.
Yeah.
Like the Bengals.
The Bengals
they
owners
have-
are trying to break even.
Yeah, and
Literally.
and then they're spending $500K for field just to play on once, and they're like, all right, yeah, and that doesn't even hurt them.
Yeah. The Broncos ownership, like the Bengals ownership, remember before the season started, was selling TVs in the stadium just to make a couple bucks. If the Broncos wanted to replace the TVs in their stadium, they would take every TV down, and if it was still an okay working TV, they would probably donate it to like a boys and girls group or something like that, and then just buy brand new TVs. They would not think to sell the TVs for $100 each to make a $25,000 profit. $25,000 to them would be 1/100th of a penny.
Let's. I imagine whoever, maybe a fan, bought those TVs, and that money was used for Jamar Chase.
Yeah. No, you're right.
The fans are paying for Jamar Chase.
We got 40 likes on today's live show. Make sure you scroll on down and click the thumbs up button if you haven't already. I want to get into our next segment, which is all about the Senior Bowl. The Senior Bowl, the Shrine Bowl, the Combine. These are milestones in the pre-draft process that can be as interesting or as boring as you want it to be. If you want to tune them out, by all means, that's not going to make you any dumber when draft night rolls around. Because I feel like the draft, your draft evaluations should 90% be made of what you saw in the regular season during the fall. And not to let the boredom of the huge break between the end of college football and round one of the NFL draft at the end of April overtake you with, ooh, I'm going to make new evaluations up to kill time. And my new evaluations will be made up of the way they performed at the Combine in their underwear and pre-draft interviews and practices at the Senior Bowl. I don't want to poo-poo on these things because they can be very helpful for specific individuals. Guys that maybe don't play at an SEC or a Big Ten school or a Big 12 school, and they don't have the opportunity to showcase their skill set because, college game day is not coming to Marshall, so they don't get a lot of the spotlight. And this is a great opportunity for them to showcase themselves. But other guys, no, their showcase is over. It was the college football season. And a couple of Senior Bowl practices are not going to dramatically sway me from one side to the other. Trent, awesome to see you in the chat. Tyler rocks. Tyler, that is a wishful thinking right there. Travis Kelce coming to the Broncos. If Travis Kelce plays for any team, not the Chiefs, it'll be the Cleveland Browns. He's from Cleveland, and he's always been very outspoken in his support for his hometown. So if 2 years from now he wants to keep playing, but the Chiefs aren't going to have him back, I could see him going to play for Cleveland, not Denver. Although I didn't see Jamal Charles coming to play for the Broncos, so crazy things do happen. Let's start my second segment. We ready, boys? All right, here we go. We're going to talk all about the Senior Bowl and just some draft content in general, so you guys are up to speed on the latest rumblings and chatter out there surrounding George and Sean Payton and pick number 20. Let's get into it. Here we go. That's all right. I've got a hot take that I want in writing so I can come back and see if this ages nicely or not in April. The 20th overall pick for the Broncos may not be a running back or a tight end. This is not me saying what I would do if I was the GM. I often think that people or creators and media members, that entire bucket, merge what they want and what they are hearing. And it can confuse fans a little bit. So let me make it abundantly clear. This is not what I would do if I was the Broncos GM, because I'm not, so who cares? It's what I think Sean and George Paton will do. And that is take a good look at one of the best position groups in this draft. Matt Miller from ESPN writing after day one of the Senior Bowl, this is the best defensive line group I've seen in the 15 years I've attended the Senior Bowl. The defensive line is the strength of the 2025 draft class, and it will be well represented in Mobile. Watch for a defensive tackle to be the pick for the Broncos at pick number 20. DJ Jones, this team's nose tackle, is a free agent. They could replace him in the draft with a younger, cheaper version rather than looking to re-sign an older veteran player. Mel Kiper put out his defensive tackle rankings. It's got Michigan's Mason Graham, Walter Nolan, Kenneth Grant, Derek Harmon, and Tyleik Williams out of Ohio State. It is a very, very good and deep defensive tackle class. Same goes for defensive end as well if you want to add someone opposite of Zach Allen, although you got John Franklin Myers. I don't think that should be a priority early in this draft with the way those two guys played last year, but it's always good to reset, or not even reset, but bring reinforcements to the pass rushing position. Now, I want to get your opinion before we get any further on this, what you think Denver should do first. Pick number 20. Do you want them to take running back, tight end, or defensive tackle? Scroll on down. I'd love to see what you have to say about this. Personally, I'd go running back. But there's no guarantee that Ashton Jeanty will be there. And if he's not there, then you have to pivot, right? Ross Geller. And if Tyler Warren's not there, then pivot again. And now we're twisting the couch up the stairs to a defensive tackle. Which defensive tackle? Here are the top three guys or some of the top three guys. We'll kind of go player by player here. Just getting you guys started with this. Mason Graham, Walter Nolan, and Kenneth Grant. Graham, I do not expect to be anywhere near 20. He is going to be a top 10 draft pick in my estimation. But last year, we did learn that it is the draft and crazy things happen. And the first defender off the board last year was Leatu Latu at 15 by the Indianapolis Colts. Walter Nolan and Kenneth Grant. Let's talk about these two guys and one more player too. It's Walker from Kentucky. Starting with Nolan, though, just to give you all some background on these defensive tackle prospects, since they might be the play at 20 if Jeanty and Tyler Warren are plan A and plan B, and they're both taken by the Dolphins and the Cowboys 6-7 picks earlier. Nolan came in at the Senior Bowl weighing in 6'3", 293 pounds. So very good size. Ole Miss said he was 300 pounds, and that's a good reminder that team websites tend to exaggerate some of the sizes for players in their benefit. Now, he does not have elite athletic abilities. This is not someone who you are taking because he was they're all gifted from God in terms of their athletic ability, but some more than others. That's not Walter Nolan. Walter Nolan has incredible production. He just put up 6.5 sacks last year for the Rebels at nearly 300 pounds. Ladies and gentlemen, you do not find 300 pounds and 6.5 sacks every year in the draft. So incredible pass rush upside and also a great run stopper. He's not just a quarterback first type of interior guy. No, he can stop the run. He can take on double teams. There's a lot to like about Nolan's game. Walker, very different prospect. 6'7", 340 pounds. You really think that's a huge human being? 6'7", 340. Again, these guys don't come around very often. These guys never come around. 6'7", 340 pounds. So what's the catch? He had 7.5 sacks in 2023, 1.5 in 2024. Where do those 6 sacks go? That's going to be a question that teams try and answer or become comfortable with where they went and take him for he's 6'7", 340, and you're probably thinking the next thing out of my mouth is he's a tree stump that can eat up blockers. He's big, but he's more than a tree stump. He's got good mobility. The guy can move. I'm not going to say he's the fastest defensive tackle out there, but for 340, 6'7", he moves a lot quicker than you think. This is just like a makeup of a defensive tackle that's not in every year's draft class. Last year, there were, I think, don't quote me, 2 guys, 300 plus pounds at the defensive tackle spot. This year, there are so many, they're all over the board. He's quick, he's strong. The concern for him is the pad level. When you're 6'7", and if we remember from our early days of Pee Wee football, low man wins. He tends to stand upright, and then a 6'5" offensive tackle doesn't have that much of an issue with him. So that's the skinny on Nolan and Walker. Kenneth Grant. He's definitely going to be in the mix for the 20th overall pick. I think he'll go right around there. He's 6'3". He's also massive like Walker. Not as tall, but 342 pounds. He takes on double teams super well, and he does a great job of shedding blockers and getting into the backfield. The con with Grant is if you put on the tape, the inconsistency. 1 quarter great, 1 quarter bad. 1 game awesome, 1 game disappearing. Where is he for all 3 plays? He's probably not someone who can go on first, second, and third down. And if you're picking in round 1, you may want someone who can play more downs. I'm not talking 100%, but that's kind of the downside. Plus, Grant does not have a great pass rush arsenal to his game. But don't get me wrong, at 6'3", 342 pounds, he still makes a lot of great plays, and he's got good athleticism and good mobility for that size, and he's going to free up linebackers by taking on double teams and allowing guys to do their job. Before we look at the rest of today's episode, quick shout out to our friends over at Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. Just pick more or less on at least 2 player stat projections. Prize Picks puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When my picks hit, I can get my money in as quick as 15 minutes. Download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That $5 lineup, just take the more on Patrick Mahomes' passing yards at 0.5 for the big game. Pair it with 1 more, and you're good to go. Once more, download the Prize Picks app and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game. Moving on to some other players from the Senior Bowl to keep an eye on. Let's run through a couple of guys that jumped out to me. We've got the Virginia Tech defensive tackle who was, I wouldn't say the star of the show for the first day of the Senior Bowl, which, by the way, was on Tuesday, January 28th. That's the first practice, and we're also filming this during our live show on Tuesday, January 28th. But he was just shedding offensive linemen left and right. So if the Broncos don't go defensive tackle in round 1, he's a name to watch for later in day 2, maybe early day 3 of the draft. So that's one name to keep an eye on. Another one is the UCF running back R.J. Harvey. I wanted to talk about Cam Scatterbo here because something I'm going to do a deeper dive on in the next couple of days is Sean Payton's next Joker. It's not R.J. Harvey. The Joker is someone who can run, catch, pass, just a little bit of everything, some special teams. Harvey does have a really good receiving ability to his game, though. And we saw how Sean Payton tried to make his running backs into a receiving threat. Javonte Williams, don't quote me, he finished second, I think, on the team in receptions. Like, he had to have. I'm thinking right now. It would have gone Sutton, Williams, and then I don't want to know who's third. Like, Mims, maybe? No, he didn't. Maybe. Anywho, Devon Vele. Aside from that, Harvey, though, if you're looking for a receiving back, which Payton could be, he might be your man. Mason Taylor, another tight end in this draft class that's very deep. 6'5", 255 pounds, so good size, but I'd say good route running. I think people were surprised to see how quickly he moved, and this is another option of if you miss out on Tyler Warren or Colston Loveland, you can wait until round 3 of the draft, and Taylor might be your answer for your tight end problems. Speaking of tight ends, another one to watch for is the tight end out of Miami. He was really moving up and down the field. This was someone who was able to get into the second level. It's a padded practice, but there's no wrapping up. There's no, hardcore defense or anything like that. So you're not going to come away with a great idea of how these guys will perform in game action. But when he's running past DBs who are running their tails off, and he's 6'4", pushing 250, you've got a good idea as to the wheels he has on him. One more player I just want to put on your radar. This would be my, hey, Petey, who's a very surprise pick that you could see Denver making? Shamir Stewart. He's a physical specimen. 6'6", 285, 290. He does not have the production. 1.5 sacks in 3 straight years for the Aggies. But what he does have is a very unique set of athletic traits for the size, the speed, and the bendiness. Every year we're told that this guy's a freak of nature. I'm not going to say he's like the greatest athlete we've seen. That probably goes for that size and speed like to Myles Garrett. I mean, everyone just knew that he was going to be Superman, and he's lived up to the billing. But Stewart, another Aggie, is someone that teams will fall in love with despite the production concerns, which for me is a major red flag, because 6'6", 285, and he runs like a wide receiver does not come around every year. So don't be surprised if a defensive coordinator is banging on the table going, if I can get my hands on this, I can mold an absolute game wrecker of a player for us. Personally, for me, if you can't get sacks in college, I don't believe you can wake up and get sacks in the NFL. That's not true for other positions. If you can't get 1,000 receiving yards in college, you can wake up in the NFL and do that. Like I could see that being a result of poor quarterback play, not a very good head coach in college, not a good offensive line. There are a magnitude of reasons as to why maybe a receiver doesn't get a ton of production in college but has success in the NFL. For me, edge rushers, it's mano-a-mano. It is one-on-one. And I don't foresee you figuring out how to beat tackles in the NFL that you couldn't beat in college just because you're a great athlete. Newsflash, everyone is. Before we sign off, I thought you might like this question to wrap up the show. Give me your favorite trivia question. This may not yield a ton of results, but I love trivia. I'm in a trivia league. It's starting back up next week. And I can't say my team name because that's definitely going to get flagged on YouTube. So you can just picture it in your head a little bit. But give me your favorite trivia question down below in the comment section. That will do it for us on today's episode. Thank you guys so much for watching. Really appreciate everyone who tunes in and watches all the way to the end. If you're still watching, make sure you like the video and subscribe. Really appreciate it as always. And I'll see everyone later. Get your questions in. Reed says we need a few more questions, which means I'm going to start calling on people like it's grade school. Slap Yourself is here. Slap Yourself, can we get a question from you? You know, I always enjoy, I see we have a super chat from Broncos Prods. Dominic, I want to see a question from you in the chat. Lobo, I see your question about Travis Hunter. Lobo, you beat me to it. I'll stop right there. I think you self-scouted a little bit. Yo, do you think Genty or Judkins will fall to 19? I'll answer this in the mailbag. I think you mean 20, right? Who's picking 19? I think it's the Seahawks. No, the Bengals. I think it's the Bengals. No, Buccaneers. Oh, that's right. That's right. Good job. That's our stats team on it right there. Hubert, put hashtag Broncos at the end of your question. That's not me being like needy. I guess I am being needy. But I'm being needy because the software can't recognize any questions in the chat if it doesn't have a hashtag Broncos somewhere in it or hashtag Broncos. Are we ready to jump into our mailbag? We'll use the super chats. Okay. Well, I'm just seeing. I got Lobo here. I got Hubert, Put some hashtag Broncos in there. We got Michael with a $5 super chat. Matt's got a question coming in. I just thought I saw more questions earlier at the start of the show. Appreciate it, Hubert. Okay. Here we go. Now we got enough, I think. Let's get the show on the road. Let's answer Michael's super chat as the first question in the mailbag. Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Here we go. Let's start things off with Michael's super chat. If you, by the way, think of a question at the last moment you want to ask, super chat, and we'll throw it on screen. It's like a Disney Fast Pass. You get to cut the line. So if you're dying to ask something, you're on the edge of your seat, and you really want to know, super chat, like I said, you'll skip the line, and we'll throw it on for all of our viewers watching. It is mailbag time here on the Broncos Breakdown. I'm answering questions that came in during our live show, which airs every Tuesday at 3 p.m. Mountain Time. So make sure you tune in next Tuesday if you have a question you would like to ask. Our first one comes in via Super Chat from Michael. If Ashton Jeanty is not there at pick 20 for the Broncos, Matthew, who do you want the Broncos to draft? Michael, great question. This answer is likely going to change, but as of Tuesday, January 28th, when I'm filming this, I'm going to say my preference would be Plan A is Ashton Jeanty. Plan B is Tyler Warren. Plan C, I'm going to go with Walter Nolan, defensive tackle out of Ole Miss. And Plan D, I'll say one of two guys, whoever's available. Either Malachi Starks, Georgia safety, or Nick Emenwari, the South Carolina safety. That would be my list of 5 guys in order for who I'd like to see the Broncos draft. So I guess the real answer is, if it's not Jeanty, Warren, but I think there's a better chance Warren's not there before Genty's taken, or a better chance Warren goes before Jeanty. So then it would be Walter Nolan out of Ole Miss. David, you're on screen. Love the show, Matt. Thank you, David. Want to know what you think of DJ Gidson's, the running back from K-State. I don't know a whole lot about DJ, so I've got some homework to do this weekend. But I will say that this running back draft class is stacked, like just loaded with talent and day one starting potential. Unlike last year, where we saw very little contributors from that running back class, the NFL draft just has this weird way of balancing itself out, where up and down. Great quarterback class one year, bad quarterback class the next year. The only thing that's usually consistent is receiver. It's always good, except for this year. This year, I don't think a single receiver that will end up going round 1 would have gone round 1 last year. Matt Markowski, do you think we could sign tight end Mike Gesicki and draft Ashton Jeanty? I think it's possible. Gesicki, right, just had a very good year with the Cincinnati Bengals, who are notoriously poor. So if his price starts to go up above their liking, they may have to pass because they have to pay guys like Jamar Chase, and Trey Hendrickson's going to want a new contract. I think he's going into the final year of his deal, so he'll be looking for a raise, and ultimately they may not have enough money to go around. I would not be opposed to this. I also think, though, that you're not finding a long-term answer in the draft. In free agency at tight end. So if you sign Gesicki, I'm still drafting a tight end, somewhat regardless of what I did in free agency. Mile High 420. Should the Broncos trade for Garrett Wilson? I love how everyone has just decided, all right, everyone good from the Jets is available. And the good news here is the Jets' new GM, I think he knows a few people over in Denver, so it could help facilitate a trade a little bit easier. Listen, I'd be very, very, very interested in trading for Garrett Wilson. I'm not sure how realistic it is, because why would the Jets want to move on from Wilson? I've yet to have a good answer to this question. The only answer I can come up with is because of Aaron Rodgers and Wilson not having the best chemistry. Remind me, which one's 40? Who do you think they're going to stick with for the long term here? The guy who's playing his 4th NFL season, not his 20th. I'm scratching my head to think of a real situation where the Jets move on from Garrett Wilson, other than The Jets are the Jets. And they didn't trade for Jerry Jeudy because the owner's son said his Madden rating wasn't high enough. But they got a good new GM, though. Broncos know this. So unless Woody Johnson really wants Aaron Rodgers again and mandates that whatever Rodgers wants, he gets, and if he wants Wilson out, then Denver should pick up the phone and make a call immediately. And I'd be open to trading the 20th overall pick for Garrett Wilson. I think a good little litmus test for situations like this goes like this. If Garrett Wilson, with his current age and contract, entered the draft today, where would he get picked? Knowing you've got one more year left in his rookie contract and then the 5th-year option. He ain't falling at 20. A team would take him in the top 19. So I would say you have a known commodity that the only thing you've missed out on is the first 3 years of that cheap rookie contract. I think it's okay to stomach that and give Bo Nix a true ascending number 1 wide receiver. Aiden, next one up. How do you feel about Russ making the Pro Bowl the first year he leaves Denver? It's a joke. And I'm not saying that from a salty standpoint. You can't even find a single Steeler fan that feels like Russell Wilson was a Pro Bowl quarterback. The NFL, the NBA, the NHL, they're so focused on trying to fix the Pro Bowl game to get viewers to watch. How about you get the best players there? Now, unfortunately for the NFL, with it coming right before the Super Bowl, historically and traditionally, the best players are never at the Pro Bowl because they're playing in the Super Bowl. But still, Drake May, Russell Wilson, that's the best the AFC could come up with? No. It's just another example as to why these games are so meaningless. Byron Lewis, safety at 20 would be a bad pick. I feel like that can be addressed in free agency. You're not wrong because safety is not a super highly coveted position in round 1 of the draft. But if you get the right guy, take a look at the Ravens. Kyle Hamilton, first-round pick, completely turn that Baltimore defense around. Safeties are a position where if they're not elite, then you can just take an average one, right? You don't need to pay top dollar for a really good safety. I would take an average safety and take the savings and put it elsewhere. But if you feel like Malachi Starks could be an elite safety, I don't think he's going to be a Troy Polamalu or Ed Reed, but we can see how elite safeties, they are worth a first-round pick. Very good safeties, I'm with you, Byron. No. So keep an eye on Starks, and if you land at the conclusion of that guy's elite, then okay, let's discuss. Byron, appreciate your question. Lobo, what do you think of the Broncos trading up for Travis Hunter or guaranteeing more money like they did with Aqib Talib? Start with Travis Hunter here. I don't see them finding a partner that wants to fall back to 20. That's a big tumble. The biggest tumbles off the top of my head, the Dolphins went from 3 to 12 with the Niners so that San Francisco could get Trey Lance. I can't think of a let's say Travis Hunter goes 3rd. You're going to find someone to go from 3 to 7, fall back 17 spots from 3 to 20. Good luck. You're going to have to offer up a future first, probably 2 seconds. To me, it's not worth it. And that's not me trying to, knock on Travis Hunter, but would you rather have Travis Hunter or 2 first-round draft picks and 2 second-round draft picks? I would take that option. Before we check out the rest of today's mailbag, quick shout out to our friends over at Game Time. Game Time is an awesome feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. What Game Time Picks does is it filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. If you want to go catch an Avs game or a Nuggets game, go visit Game Time right now, download the app, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. I like to look at it as, hey, game time's going to take care of your first concession run. You're going to go to the game, and your first run to get a hot dog, a beer, or something like that is covered by game time with that $20 savings. Terms apply, but once more, take the guesswork out of buying tickets with game time. Download the app, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. I put all that information in the comments and description of today's video. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. The police. Matthew, do you feel like Denver should pick a running back or a tight end so Denver can build around Bo Nix? Let's just say Ashton Jeanty and Tyler Warren are both available at 20. And the question is, if you have your pick of the litter, who are you taking? Me personally, I'd go Ashton Jeanty from the way I would construct a roster. Sean Payton has always had good tight ends in his offense. He's always valued tight ends. He's always used the running back as a committee backfield. So he may not feel like using the 20th overall pick is a good use on a bell cow back when that's not the way he operates with his running backs. That could change with a guy like Ashton Jeanty, who he's never had. Right? Once you get Alvin Kamara, after his first few seasons, like he pretty much became the bell cow back. And they stopped splitting carries between don't pay a running back, don't draft a running back. The Eagles just told you we can do when you pay a running back. Yes, if you have Patrick Mahomes, you don't have to pay a running back. Newsflash, 31 teams do not have Patrick Mahomes, so they should be paying a running back. I would go running back, but I think Sean Payton would prefer a tight end. I think that would fit his offense better, and it would be a bigger missing piece to their offense. Hubert, next one up. What do you think of Darius Slayton? I think Slayton can be a solid wide receiver 3 for a team, and if the Broncos want to bring on a more veteran receiver, that's not a bad option. I don't think he should be the prize pig or the number one sought-after receiver free agent target for the Broncos. We can look at the Broncos receiver room here in a moment, and you're going to be bringing back pretty much everyone. Sutton, Vele, Mims, Troy Franklin. I don't see Denver looking at free agency to improve this receiver room. Like, to take over as a new receiver too. I think they like what they got out of Marvin Mims at the end of last year. So why pay someone a lot of money to then take Marvin Mims' snaps? You invested a second-round pick in Mims. You're finally starting to get your return on that investment. Why go buy another business that's going to cannibalize your other business? You know what I mean? If you bought a donut shop and the first year was not making a lot of money, but then it's starting to become a bit of a cash factory, why go buy a restaurant right next door to that donut shop and take customers away from that? I know it's a really weird Colin Cowherd analogy, but when you look at receivers and you want to talk about adding another one, always ask yourself, if you add this receiver, what is he bringing to the receiver room that you don't already have? Are you looking for speed? Are you looking for size? Kind of a possession guy, or more of a joker/gadget player? I would be hard-pressed to find someone in free agency worth giving up a big contract to take away snaps from a young, cheap ascending Marvin Mims. So, there we go, Hubert. There's your answer. CPJ, do you think that getting a defensive tackle like Walker and Nolan would boost our defense to another level? Then next to Allen for years to come would terrorize the AFC West. Look at the Chiefs. What is the foundation of their defense? It's Chris Jones from the interior. They've rotated some guys around him to his left and to his right, and they even tried him off on the edge, but he's better on the interior. It would be tough to pass on if you think one of these guys, say Walter Nolan here, is going to be not Chris Jones level, but Chris Jones was a second-round draft pick, so you don't need to have a top 10 pick to get one of the best interior defensive tackles in football. If you think Nolan could be even just 90% or 85% of Chris Jones, you've got that with Cooper and Benito and Zach Allen. That might be a front four that just, you don't have to invest a ton offensively. They're going to bring you all the way to the AFC Championship game. I think it could be that good of a front four. Just like how the Eagles their pass rush and their defensive line, they didn't skip a beat when they transitioned from the old guys like Fletcher Cox and Brandon Graham to the new guys, Jalen Carter, the other Georgia Bulldogs they got, Jordan Davis, thank you. And look where they are right now. CPJ, I'd be very interested in a defensive tackle at 20. Broncos prods, what do you think of the Broncos picking up Chris Godwin? I like Chris Godwin as a player. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't believe the Broncos are going to spend big in free agency at wide receiver. I think they like the early returns on their previous draft class from Devon Vele and Troy Franklin, the ascension they got from Marvin Mims, probably the best year from Cortland Sutton. My guess is, while they will add to their receiver room, it won't be to the level of we're going to make the biggest payment to a receiver this offseason. I suspect they will go with smaller, more precision options rather than one big splash. Broncos prods, thank you for your super chat and your question. To wrap up today's mailbag, it is about a week and change away, not even. Who you got? Eagles, Chiefs. Let me know in the comment section below. We're all pulling for the Eagles here. But not who do you want, who do you think? We all caught up on supers? I saw a few more fly in, I thought. Okay. Yeah, we'll throw it on screen one more time. Lobo and Broncos prods, thank you so much for your super chats and for supporting the channel. Means more than you might realize. And I hope I answered your question. I'd love to know the biggest jump up a team has made in the draft. If Travis Hunter goes third, we're talking about jumping up 17 spots. This is a tough one to Google. I'm just kind of going off of recent memory. You might have a team like the Lions. Remember when they took Jack Campbell and Jahmyr Gibbs? Didn't they have to re-enter the first round to get one of those two guys? So that might be the answer. But 20-3, that's 17 spots. This is tough. This is some good trivia. Here we go. I think we might have the answer. 3, 2, not looking good? No. Yeah. I'm thinking it might have been, because I don't think the Lions had 2 first-round picks when they got Campbell. Or maybe they did. From 3 to 2. Yeah. That's probably the smallest move up. Yeah, they just swapped spots to the Niners. Lobo, I'll do some research and I'll come back to you, even though that's not really the question you're asking. 9-1. Yeah, that's pretty sizable. Right now, the biggest I can think of is the Niners going from 12-3 for Trey Lance. So that's 11 spots, right? Or 9 spots. Tied with the Panthers. DJ would definitely know. All right, that will do it for us on today's live show. Oh, Broncos prods. I'm so sorry. If Garrett Wilson comes to Denver, good or bad? Good. Good. I think he would become an instant success with this offense.
Would he have to be?
Would you just have rest in peace? I get DT vibes.
Would it be like a AJ Brown, Devontae Smith type thing with him and Cortland Sutton?
Sutton's getting close to 30.
No,
I think you're describing Garrett Wilson, Marvin Mims, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith.
So you think Cortland Sutton's out?
Well,
I'm
not sure. Cortland Sutton has one more year on his contract. I can't say with confidence he will be back in 2026. We'll see how 2025 plays.
That's what I'm saying. In 2025, like Cortland,
Cortland
Sutton kind of takes a back seat.
Sutton and Wilson are similar-esque receivers, which would be okay, because similar meaning they're both very good, but not like one's big and tall and one's fast and small. It would be a very good receiver tandem like Brown and Smith in Philadelphia. All right, that will do it for us on today's live show. For everyone that's super chatted, big special thank you and shout out to you guys. For everyone tuning in, appreciate it as always. We will get you more content throughout the week, so do not worry, and I'll see everyone later with more Broncos news and rumors.